Well, hey, everybody, Pastor Steve here. It's July 24. Our devotion is Leviticus chapter 19, and we're making our way through this book just as quickly as we're making our way through this hot summer here in South Carolina. So Leviticus 19, and want to remind you that our theme this year is praying for the harvest starts with me. So I want to encourage you to be praying for the harvest. Remember, we ask everyone to pray 3 prayers every day here at First Baptist. Pray that God will give you an opportunity today to tell somebody about Jesus, to share your testimony with somebody, to invite someone to church. Number 2, God will give you the boldness and the courage to speak when those opportunities come. And then number 3, you're praying for people by name, not just your one, but many ones by name who are not walking with Jesus. And so also, would you pray for Sunday services that people will be saved, that Christians will be encouraged, that those who are struggling will be strengthened, those who are running from God would stop running and come home? Just pray for the services Sunday and pray for God to speak to you as well. Okay, Leviticus chapter 19. A lot of this chapter, I would summarize this way. Practical application of the 10 Commandments. And I think if you read it again, if you didn't pick up on that, you will when you read it again. There's also some additional comments in this chapter regarding the idolatry of the pagan people, the Canaanites around the Jewish people. My devotional thought, however, I've got 2 or 3 I want to share with you. But the first one comes from verses 9 and 10 in Leviticus chapter 19, where the Bible says, and I'm reading from the New American Standard Translation, for those of you who don't know which translation I read from. Verse 9, now when you reap the harvest, this is your crops, when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not reap to the very corners of your field, nor shall you gather the gleanings of your harvest. The gleanings would be the stuff that might come back later after you've already gathered the harvest, some final growth that might appear, etc. And he says in verse 10, nor shall you glean your vineyard, nor shall you gather the fallen fruit of your vineyards, that which falls on the ground while you're harvesting, that you miss. Don't go back and pick it up, he's saying. Why? Why? Well, at the end of verse 10, you shall leave them for the needy and for the stranger. I am the Lord your God. It was a form of welfare. One of the ways they assisted the poor, the needy. The stranger would be the immigrant, the person passing through, etc. Was when they would get the harvest from their fields, from their garden, the corners, 4 corners. They would leave that part of the harvest. They wouldn't gather it. They'd leave it for the poor to come and take for food. Fell on the ground while they were harvesting, they didn't go back and try to pick up every little piece. The gleanings, if something kind of grew back later before the next season, you leave that. It was a way of providing resources for the poor, for the needy, and for the immigrant. And this is not the only place in the Old Testament where this is described. It reminds me in some ways, and I've said this previously in devotions, it reminds me of the 1930s and FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, and the Congress establishing the WPA, the Works Program Administration, where school buildings and airports and libraries and dams and other things were built that benefited the public, and the government paid the salaries. It was a works project that during the Depression gave people jobs so they would not starve to death, but at the same time benefited the public. I think there's wisdom in that model versus so much of what we do with welfare, where we just give someone a check or whatever. And we don't promote self-worth. We don't promote dignity. We don't promote work ethic. In fact, sometimes I think we promote the very opposite with how we do it. And while it's well-intentioned, I'm just not convinced that our current system is the wisest approach. I think we could learn something from how the Bible talks about it here. But anyway, that's just me. Another thing that spoke to me is in verse 32, when he says, "You shall rise up before the gray-headed and honor the aged, and you shall revere your God. I am the Lord." One of the ways you revere God is by how you revere or honor the elderly. Years ago, you'll see this in old movies, okay, or old television shows. Woman walks into the room and all the men stand up. Woman gets up to leave the room, gets up to leave the table, the restaurant, all the men stand up. It was a sign of respect and honor. In a similar way, he's saying, young people, that's what you are to do with the elderly. Show them respect, standing up. It's absolutely tragic when you see and hear these stories in some of our metropolitan areas of young adults, teenagers, people in their 20s, who will run up from behind or from the blind side and hit a senior adult in the face or the back of the head with their fist or with a physical item, or they're standing to catch the subway and they push them onto the tracks. What is happening to our culture? Kind of going back to yesterday's devotion from chapter 18 about the progression of sexual immorality and perversion and the damage it does to the society. The lack of respect for the elder, the lack of respect for authority, for leadership, even the entitlement that some people have, doesn't honor God. It doesn't make the society better. And in fact, if this all continues, I'm just glad that I'll be in heaven before the land spews us out like we talked about yesterday. Anyway, one last thing, verses 33 and 34. For those of you who liked what I just said, you may not like what I'm going to say. 33 and 34. When a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not do him wrong. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. It's like each time he says something, he says, I am the Lord your God, reminding them of who's saying it. There's a lot of debate in our country today about immigration, border security, immigration laws, and I get frustrated with some of it. I'm sure you do. A lot of issues, and it's complicated. But I want to remind us as believers, we cannot, even no matter what we think about border security and other issues. And I'm one who believes we need to have a secure border. I also believe we need to change our immigration processes, because the truth is, for people who try to come here the right way and the legal way, it is a pain. It's too complicated. The whole system is messed up. But I am saying, as a follower of Christ and a disciple, politics cannot be the only thing that informs our thinking and how we respond to these issues. We cannot, as a follower of Jesus, ignore compassion as he commands us in these verses to have. It's a word to the wise. Word to followers of Christ. I'll see you tomorrow as we look at our weekly chapter of Proverbs, Proverbs 28. God bless you, everybody.